welcome back to Three's a Crowd Podcast. Make sure you're liking, subscribing, commenting. If you're on Spotify, make sure you're giving us a follow, leave some comments. We love you.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to episode 6 of Three's a Crowd Pod. I'm very excited about this episode today. Here's what we're getting into. We're going to start it off with some talk about AI. Then we're going to switch over to our weekly sports update. We're going to get into some OBJ trade talk and the Jalen Waddle dance done in the World Cup by a Greek player. So we're going to talk about some of that stuff. And then we're going to end it with my favorite clothing store, our hot topic, hot take of the night. So let's get into it, guys.
I love the energy that Nick just brought there with that intro, right? I don't know about you, but Nick was coming in pretty hot there.
I was aggressively pointing at the camera because I love you guys. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So remember to mute. And we will lead it off with the tech part of the podcast today. It's kind of flip-flop it for you guys. We've usually done a few different topics, but I felt like today, with everything going on with this AI release from OpenAI of the Chat GPT, which we'll go into a little more, I felt like that was kind of a topic that could consume some time. We're also going to try and give you guys a little bit of a shorter podcast and see if that's more preferable for the listeners and the viewers. So with that, I will lead it off. The OpenAI is, I would say, the industry-leading AI provider at the moment. A lot of the major companies like Microsoft, Google, Apple, they all have their own AI departments, but it's pretty hush-hush at the moment. They're doing stuff on the back end. OpenAI is the first one that's been very public about what they're doing. Before we go into the product, just a little bit on OpenAI. It's a company that actually started as a private company that was interested in producing this AI to better society and be a very trustworthy non-for-profit type of organization. Since then, there's been a little bit of a pivot. They've actually started a for-profit version of the company, and it is not so much geared around the just consumer, it seems, at this point. So a couple of people are a little upset about that. Just because they've raised so much money, and originally it was said to be that private, no corporate governance or no shareholders that they needed to answer to, and they haven't gone officially public, but they are no longer a non-for-profit, and they are basically just partnering with all of these major companies to they're really partnering with anybody who's going to give them their data so that they can continue to teach the AI all of these different functions. And the AI feature that made a big splash was this Chat GPT. And it's basically a chat module that you're able to use. And what it does is it almost replaces the search bar. So you can ask it almost anything from math equations.
Are you talking about the playground?
I'm talking the thing that that's different. The thing that I sent you, guys, where you're able to go on this chat and just type in, like you could type in, hey, what is 6 plus 6? And it'll answer 6 plus 6 is 12. You
that's
can
the playground,
type in
dude.
Playground. Well, it's called Chat GPT.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. So you can write a math equation. You can write, hey, I want you to write me a movie script I want you to write me a movie scene for a baseball movie with a character based in New York City. And it will actually script you out a scene from a movie using data from other movies that it's seen and things like that. It will do code, like basic level code. If you ask it, hey, I want to optimize my code for this, and this, it will actually spit you out code ideas for you to try and implement in different languages, which is absolutely insane. I saw somebody use it today and said, give me 6 SaaS, so software as a service, SaaS startup ideas. And it spit out 6 quality company ideas. some were already kind of created, but some were just solid ideas. Like one was basically like a what's the startup that brings you the groceries from Publix? You know what I'm
Instacart?
talking about? Instacart. So it's like an Instacart, but it's all based around meals. So instead of it just bringing you your groceries, you can input meals that you like to make, and it'll actually create the shopping list to include all of those ingredients so that you're able to schedule out your meals for the week, and it will continuously bring you the ingredients and food you need. And that was one of its ideas that it spit out. And like really the possibilities are endless. And this is going to kind of be a two-sided conversation, because part of it is really exciting because it's pretty cool to see like new technology like this really start to come about, and just the intelligence of machine learning and this artificial intelligence is pretty intense. But we're also going to talk about how it's going to really cut off a lot of jobs, which is going to be kind of scary.
Yeah,
Sounds like. Go ahead, Ray.
I was actually using OpenAI today, and we actually discussed it in my intellectual property class because it is an open source software. So basically, like there's no like intellectual property protections behind it, and anyone can go and use that same software and kind of create like their own thing, which is like it's a decent thing to do, but. I was using it today for outlining. I'm in my finals period right now. I'm not a very happy camper, but I have a final on Friday, and I was using OpenAI, the playground feature, I would tell it like define, or I would say give me a summary of Section 609 of the Fair Credit Reporting Act. And it would give me a summary, and I would just immediately put it into my outline because it's 100% right. Define a consumer investigative report, and the exact definition was correct. So it's a really useful tool, I think, as well for academics. And my professor actually told me, like my intellectual property professor, like made it like a specific instruction. He was like, for the exam, like you're not allowed to use like any type of AI software, because it's capable of answering the questions that are posed on the final. And I was like, I don't believe that, like I don't think that's true. So today I had while I was studying, like we get like practice exams from previous years, like that they had distributed the exam, and I copied and pasted like the entire fact pattern and the question that it asked, and it generated an exactly right answer. Like legal analysis and everything. I mean, it was short, but it generated a legal analysis that was accurate. And like, I know it was accurate because I checked the rubric for like the answer key. So it was able to like spit out a real legal answer, which is kind of scary. Like for me, about to be a lawyer, because I could ask this thing to write me a contract for the sale of a 2002 Mazda with 30,000 miles on it for $6,000, and it will write me a contract that's pretty close to like legally enforceable. So
I'd rather use the AI than you anyway, though.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that's a given, but
dude,
it's scary.
It's really nuts.
Yeah.
You know what? I had a thought in my head when you mentioned the academic part. Man, short Cheg's in trouble.
Cheg's dead.
If you guys don't know what Chegg is, Chegg was probably all of our best friends at some point. And Chegg is basically a database that collects questions from exams and homeworks and all this. And so it has basically a collection of like textbook questions and just certain curriculum for certain colleges. Doesn't have everything, but it has a lot. And so it's that kind of database, but it doesn't have the AI factor where it could go out and learn more unless something is manually input by a person into it. Like a question is directly asked or something like that, where this OpenAI goes and finds whatever answer you're searching for based on the data it has present, which is probably pretty limitless. They have a lot access to a lot of data, so that seems like a pretty limitless thing there. That's pretty nuts.
Yeah, and a good segue like from that is basically one of the first disruptors, and I'm 100% sure that Google's doing things behind closed doors to work towards this, but the search bar is dead if this is really a tool. Like, why would you go and search? And somebody actually did it and went back and forward and searched things on the search bar and searched things on the AI, and the AI not only gave it one correct answer where Google gave you tons of options to kind of go through and do yourself, it was giving more accurate answers on the top choice than the top choice that Google was providing you. So the search bar is dead if they don't have something that they're building, because why would you not just use this? And then a couple of other things that are just going to be absolutely clobbered by this are people that write copyright. This thing will write you copyright for almost anything and knows what the majority of the copyright on the internet looks like. This will create ads. We'll just be able to write ads for you. This will be able to script commercials, movie scenes instantly.
Journalism.
Yeah. And Marco sent me something right now, like 10 things that people are doing with AI right off the bat in order of like just amazing, like priority. Like we said, it's debugging code. It detects security vulnerabilities immediately. You can deploy virtual machines instantly, which is for people that are super not techie, a little bit of a tedious process. You can generate Nmap scans. You can tweet in styles, so you can write in styles. Like the AI actually has no curse words at the moment, just to stop it. But you can have it write me a tweet about what's going on in China in a Quentin Tarantino style, and it'll write you kind of how Quentin Tarantino would say the tweet. So it is kind of scary. Customer service dead. Why would you? This thing answers like a human, responds like a human, can give you different answers with just one or two words changed in the question. So a lot of these services of this kind of on the verge of do I need a human or not are gone. I mean, they're eliminated with this, and it's sad, and I hope that they're repurposing these positions in some way to help keep the AI working, and people are able to go into different positions and that type. But sadly, this is again another favorable reason why you should know how to code, why you should be in technology and software, because this is where more opportunities are going to continue to present themselves, which is crazy. A tutor, why would you need a tutor? This thing will answer any question you have. It'll just talk back to you, and you can literally have conversations. And then Marco's going to insert a video for us. So if you're watching online now, you'll see between this conversation a little video that'll be inserted on just some of the functions of us using ChatGPT. And it literally is crazy. Like, I could write right now saying, write me a movie scene about Andres, Nick, and Ray on Three's a Crowd podcast, and we can sit here and narrate a movie scene scripted within seconds. Here's a fun one. Write me a movie scene starring Ray, Nick, and Andres about making a new podcast. And if you're watching online, you should be. You'll see it is literally writing us a movie script with our individual characters and what to say instantly, which is pretty impressive to say the least. Here's one for Ray and all our law listeners. Something he was talking about on the podcast. Write me a contract for the sale of a used Mazda with 15,000 miles on it with a price of $10,000. And you'll see it is immediately spitting out a contract for us that we can print out and sign. And I'll let Ray be the determiner if this will hold up legally, but it looks pretty good to me. Which, I mean, come on, that is absolutely crazy. But something that's going to be very interesting, which a lot of people have mentioned, is there's kind of a ceiling for AI because it can only get better if it's given more data to learn. So companies are going to start to say, hey, we don't want to give you our data. Like, we don't want to make you better. We're not gaining anything from it. So now it's going to become a race to who can find the proprietary, good, juicy data that's going to put somebody over the edge, because somebody could rip off ChatGPT right now if they spent a lot of time and found out where they were getting all the data. And most of it is just public data, scraping off of social medias, websites, and all of this like user data that's just out there. Because I hope you guys all know, when you accept things on websites, you 99% of the time accept for that website to sell your data. That's where they make the money. And it's just going in to teach this machine. So it's going to become that kind of scenario where it's like, how can we continue to elevate? Like, who's withholding that good data? Which again goes back to, that's why I know these big companies like Google, like Apple, like Microsoft, Facebook, Meta, they have the majority of the data banks. That's what their companies are built on. And they're the only one that has a strategic partnership with OpenAI right now, I believe, is Microsoft. And Microsoft, out of the names that I mentioned, is by far the smallest player. They might have more corporate data with their Microsoft Teams and all of that, but they don't have that platform like these other ones do. So it's going to be interesting to see if these other companies start to release their own AIs to make the experiences on their platforms easier. It's almost like a guide through the platform. Like, and it's crazy. Like, if you're a content creator, you're going to be able to ask it, hey, when is the majority of people posting on Instagram in the United States? And it's going to be able to pull that data and say 3:31 p.m. is the most optimal time for you to post. Boom. What type of content are people watching? Long videos, short videos. The majority of Instagram users are listening or watching videos from 10 to 15 seconds. And it's crazy. Like, all of these kind of freelance jobs or customer service jobs or writing jobs are going to get eliminated by this. But the flip side is the human will always be better. Like, that human touch, like, you will be able to still see that element of the human writing when it comes to like more edgy stuff or the way that it's kind of spoken. And I think down the road that will go away as we continue to teach these machines. But while it will remove the majority of these just basic level jobs, and speaking specifically in writing, the basic level writing, the people who can really perfect their craft and excel, their price just went up. A quality writer is much more worth it now, because the non-quality writer, the person that was a mediocre writer, is obsolete, sadly, at this point, because I could get the software for free and it's going to write me a novel. I could literally every hour of the day, I could write me a tweet about what's happening. And right now you can't, because they cut off the data for the Chat GTP at 2021. But if it was updated constantly and it was in peak form, I would say, write me a tweet about what's going on in China right now. Writes me a tweet in the character count. Write me a tweet about what's going on in Ukraine. Boom, writes me a tweet. Write me a blog post for Cisco's earnings this week. Boom. It would be able to write that for me. I just canceled that. It would be able to write that for me. So it's going to be extremely interesting to see the real effects, because you've got half the boat that's really excited about it, and you've got the other half who's really worried about it. I don't know if you guys have anything else to add to that. I know, Ray, I'd love to hear some of the use cases that you guys went over, maybe in your law class. And I actually tried the contract that you sent me, and it spit out a perfect contract for me on that used car that was basically presentable, like you said.
Yeah, I think that, the progression of AI in this sense will have two main effects. One of which is that data is going to become more expensive. So there's going to be, I think, not a retraction in how much data is collected from individuals, but a curtailment of how much data is being sold, just because the value of it is now clearly worth so much more. Consequently, our privacy is going to be more intact, even though there are going to be these data mining that like companies that are constantly collecting your data. If it's not being sold, are you really harmed by that? You know what I mean? So I think that's a positive in a sense. I know that I'm taking a privacy class right now, and a lot of it is about how your data is taken and sold from you. And
Great, but why would you say that our data will be more intact if the data becomes more valuable?
It's gonna become it's gonna be more valuable, become more expensive. So in my mind, if something's more expensive, less people are going to buy it, or maybe it'll just become like a more it'll just make more sense to spend more money on it. So like if your data is not being sold, then like you're not really being injured by that. You know what I mean? So I think if it's more expensive, there's going to be less of a need to buy it, or less of a kind of.
I think on the contrary. I think if the data becomes more valuable, yes, the price to buy it obviously will go up, but the reward for getting it goes up that much more, because now they have another way, just another avenue to monetize your data.
Yeah, I mean these big firms, these big companies are like continuously going to be able to buy it. Like it's not going to matter, but
right.
Smaller,
I mean that's where the data is. That's where the data is. The data is pretty much
the smaller actors. Like when you're on your phone and you download an app that you see from an ad on Instagram, and they ask you whether to allow tracking or not when you download it, or like when you're going to start using it. Like those guys are going to be obsolete in buying data and being able to sell their data. Like it's just going to be worthless. You know what I mean? Whereas the bigger companies are continuously going to be able to do that because they have the capital to do so, because they have the need to do so.
But on the flip, if they're little, they could sell their data for less because they need the money more. So they could undercut the big guys, sell their data, and the data circle is still going around.
I think as more people educate themselves on AI and what's really happening, which will take some time, because I think we're in this bubble where we're very in tune with what's happening and the updates and the changes in our world from a technology standpoint. But the majority don't know what's going on. Like if I went in a room with 100 people right now and I said, "Hey, who knows about Chat GTP?" Maybe 20% of the people raise their hand and be like, "Yeah," and then maybe 5% of them like actually know what's really happening. And it might be a little more, might be a little less, but it's not the majority yet. And I think that whole situation with Apple, where they said, "Okay, we're going to make these big changes. We're going to grab Facebook by the throat, and we're not going to allow them to just constantly eat off of our data. We're going to allow the user to decide, do I want to be tracked? Do I want my data to be being used in certain scenarios?" So I think people in the short term have educated themselves a little more about how the data sales work and how their data is used to benefit these other companies. And I think there's going to have to be a lot more policy put into place about this, because it can get kind of messy, because I'm sure there's still tons of loopholes in this data pulling things, and we can't let AI get too intense, because if it does continue to get extremely smart, it will actually replace the human, because it has the ability to consume more data than we can. And the more and more it learns from human interaction, the more human like it will be. And if you really use the chat, you will see how scary it is. You can actually have a 3-hour long conversation with this software and talk like if you're texting someone, and they're answering you like if it's a normal human with no flaws. It's nuts. So I think that while yes, we are like so far advanced, I think we've gotten to the 95% point, but the last 5% is going to be so much longer than the first 95, because there's going to be all of these rules. They're going to put all this policy together for people's data. There's going to be a lot, and I don't know exactly what it's going to be like, but I think it is going to be significant. And Ray, from a law perspective, I feel like there's going to have to be a lot of different things put into place to protect the user and to ensure that this technology does not make the regular human job completely obsolete, because it definitely has the potential to do so.
Yeah, I'm not really sure how Congress will address that, just because it's so new. It's like so unknown still. Like I don't know what kind of laws will be passed in order to, safeguard human employment. I'm not sure. It should be interesting. That legislation should be really interesting. I don't know if this older generation of senators and congressmen and congresswomen are capable of doing so. I think it's going to take like probably a newer generation that is a little bit more in tune with AI and its consequences.
We're on the right path though. Nancy Pelosi's out.
What do you mean?
She's done, right? That's what I heard.
What do you mean? Is she?
No, she's still working, but she announced that she will most likely be retiring. No, she still is now. Her term's not over.
I'm saying when
she's not going. I believe that she said she is going to go back for re-election, but that's just a formality, like to avoid her completely like giving up the seat. But the rumor is that she's not coming back.
Gotcha. Well, on a serious note, bots on like social media are about to get crazy. Instead of that little bot from India saying you have really hot boobs or something, or bobs, however they spell it, bobs, boobs, you're going to have a very sophisticated, romantic compliment. So Ray, be careful, buddy, when you post that next selfie.
The bots are going to be swarming your page.
There's also a new trend going around right now where people are turning their like selfies and pictures of themselves, and AI will generate it into like pretty much whatever type of picture you want, right? Like, so I could like submit a picture of myself, like the way I look right now, and I'd be like, turn me into a realistic portrait from 1986 from Pablo Picasso. Like, just like add like different prompts, and it'll generate pictures of you in that fashion. And it's actually pretty cool. It's really I was actually messing around with it today. My this is funny. My mom, I have a family group chat. My mom texts me, and then she goes, or she texts, I guess she texts everyone. She goes, everyone send in your most recent picture for the Christmas card, right? And I was like fucking around. I sent a picture of myself, AI generated, and my dad replied. He's like, this is awesome. This is amazing. We all need to do this right now and make the Christmas card. So our Christmas card is going to be all of us AI generated.
Dude, that right there is an awesome use case in itself. Like how easy and simple that is. Just
yeah,
and it's becoming so like, again, like there's just so many use cases, and Marco just sent us in the chat here saying that he did that too. And what we were saying about Google earlier, like a great headline, because again, we're talking about who has the data. Google has the data. And it's how Google went from a search engine to an $800 billion global AI powerhouse. And that's what it's going to turn into. You're almost going to have this personal assistant with you at all times that will be able, and we're only seeing the beginning, will be able to schedule meetings for you, update your calendar, like get you any information you need. I am meeting with the CEO of Cisco, Chuck Robbins. Tell me about him. Boom. Brr, what he does, where he lives, what he does for hobbies, what he's like, all of this information. I mean, prepping. Like, I mean, look at what Ray just said earlier, that his professor was like, you cannot use AI. It will answer the questions for you. And it's crazy because it's coming so fast. Like, we went from like 3 weeks ago, no one was really talking about it, to all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, this AI is insane. It does everything we need. And OpenAI has their own picture generator, which is Dolly. And you could just tell it what to do. Like, elephant on a private jet smoking a cigar.
Yeah.
It'll paint me a picture in 30 seconds of an elephant smoking a cigar on a private jet. And they're now starting to partner with artists. Like, you can say, draw a picture of me in a, like Picasso would, and the picture of me will be in a Picasso style painting. And it's really like, the possibilities are endless. Just because there's so many use cases, because you could teach this thing anything, like literally anything you want. And I think what's going to really be the biggest factor is when it really learns how to code. When the AI itself can create code at the snap of a finger, and coding becomes somewhat of a copy paste type of job, where you're still going to have to optimize it, because it really just gives you the bare bones. And so the craft of coding and being able to implement certain things that make my code better than yours, it's still going to be there. But the brunt work of coding is going to be eliminated, because the AI is going to understand code and just be able to generate what you need.
And you know what's next after that? To me, what's logically next is when you teach a computer how to learn anything that it takes in, right? You got step one. To me, step two is teaching a computer how to do anything you tell it to.
Yep.
To me, that seems like that's what's next. So whether you have a house robot that can take out your trash and just simple things like that, like,
I mean, we already have that in a sense, though, right? Like, you could tell Alexa to turn on your lights and turn off your lights, and you could tell Alexa to turn on the alarm or whatever. So, like, to a certain extent, we have that already. But I do get what you're saying, where like it's going to be a more automized life, where we're not going to be able to have, like, we're not going to have to do many things, and it's just going to be computers running wild.
Because, like, to me, Alexa is more like, that bitch isn't that smart. Alexa's more like a remote control that you can talk into and tell it what to do instead of pushing a button. But if you have a really versatile AI, like this OpenAI is, and that thing could, I mean, there's poop on the back left side of the house. Go there and pick it up and put it in the car. Like, I don't know, something specific. Like, to me, that's the real deal. And I don't know. That seems like that could be what's next.
Speaking on Alexa, oh, sorry to cut you off really quick. On the Alexa talk, for those of you that don't know, Alexa and the hardware at Amazon is like Jeff Bezos's baby. Like, he loves that shit. And the hardware category at Amazon, so like Echoes, Alexas, Kindles, is set to lose $10 billion this year, primarily between Alexa and the Echoes. So it's actually going terrible for Amazon, and shareholders are actually calling for them to roll back the amount of effort they put into it. But Bezos is obsessed, almost like that Zuckerberg situation where he's obsessed with the VR. Amazon and Alexa are literally losing $10 billion a year on their hardware. Thank God for their AWS.
It's kind of funny in a messed up way. Jeff Bezos makes his billions on not selling his own stuff, right? Other stuff is sold on through Amazon, and then he comes out with his own stuff, and it loses $10 billion. That's funny. That's fun.
Yeah. Check out this AI generated picture of me. You guys are gonna roast me.
You look like the character starring in the next samurai anime movie.
No, and then they tried me further. Check this out.
You look like a Oh my god,
Oh my god, bro, that is horrible.
Hold on.
dude!
This is
For anybody watching on, if you're not watching on YouTube, you should, because
You got
is
get out of here.
is that Madonna?
What's what's the name of that art? That's a style. Oh, dude.
All right, for anybody that can't get to a video, Ray has basically showed us 5 or 4 images where 75% or more had him looking like a woman.
no.
Yeah,
The first
dude.
one, I looked dashing in the first one.
No,
The first one was great. But the rest just went absolutely downhill from there.
in
Yeah, the
over
rest-
in over half of them, you look like you're an anime character who has been questioning his sexuality his whole life and is very frustrated and doesn't know what to do.
Ray, producer Marco just said that send him those, and he's gonna have those pop up on like a little carousel for us, so the viewers can get a really nice look at that.
Okay.
But really, again, just to wrap up this AI segment, again, let's highlight the exciting parts and how cool this is and how impressive this technology is and how quickly they've been able to roll it out. But don't forget about the scary parts about it, the sad parts where people are gonna have to specialize more and go for more. And I don't want to say this in a demeaning way, like if the customer service rep is not a like really important job, or some of these copyright people are not really important jobs, but they're, what's a good word for it? I don't know, but they're very interchangeable. Like you can roll the next person in and probably get almost the same results. These people will lose their jobs as this becomes more and more powerful, and companies are able to tailor these AIs to what they want.
Repetitive tasks.
Yeah, something that you don't need a degree from Harvard to do, and that's answer the phone and read off a script. And I think maybe a plus is that the robots that we have to call to at all these damn companies get a little better, because I'm tired of dealing with some robot that makes me answer 15 questions before I talk to a human who basically can't help me. But with that, we will pass it over to Ray Boy to give us that little intro and put us into the sports section.
Yeah, I just want to say I just checked fantasy and I'm fucking pissed. Do you know why I'm pissed on this?
No, I don't.
You didn't get most points?
Ethan's guy caught a touchdown at the end.
No, you have most points on this.
Oh, shout out me. Week 13, first time winning most points. You hear that, Marco? Over there. You hear that, Nick? You hear that, Ray?
Dude,
Oh my God, I beat Ray by 2 points.
Dude, yeah, such horseshit, bro. Like I had 136 before this Monday night game. And
but Rogelio had 135, so he would have beat you anyways. Oh, you had 136.
I had 136.
Sorry.
Nico had 135 too, bro.
Dude, and Ray, didn't I beat you by 1 point or 2 points a couple weeks ago?
Yes.
For most points? That's
yes.
it. Andres, no, you got you, boy.
Yeah, Andres' curse continues. Marco, who is a huge competitor in our league, just performed the worst that he's ever performed I think, in this entire season. Andres beat him by like 50 points almost. I'm a loss for words. I somehow won this week. I shouldn't have. I definitely shouldn't have, and I did, because the Dallas Cowboys defense scored me 24 points. They went off for me, and 24 points is actually the second leading scorer on my team, under DK Metcalf. DK Metcalf scored 26, Dallas scored 24, and no one else was fucking close. So that's great. That's awesome. That's exciting stuff. I'm making the playoffs.
Dude,
you all can suck my dick.
Right. You had
Jacobs at 21.
Or Josh Jacobs, not Jacoby.
Josh Jacobs 21. Yeah, whatever. I don't give a fuck. Point is, I'm making the playoffs. Y'all can suck my dick. All right? Nick, I hope that everyone on your team loses an ACL. Every single person. I hope that you're left with no one.
I think this anger is warranted.
Everybody watching, I just want you to hear what Ray just said. He just said, hope everyone on my team loses an ACL. Who's on my team? Tyreek Hill, Dolphins. Jeff Wilson Jr., Dolphins. Is Ray a real Dolphins fan?
No.
No.
With the exception of those two. With the exception of those two. Yeah, I am angry. I am angry because I didn't expect to make the playoffs. And now that I'm here to fucking win. You heard me? I'm not playing Gabe Davis anymore. Fuck that guy. Gabe Davis, if you're watching this, play fucking better, bro. Come on, play fucking better. I'm counting on you. I start you every week. Every week I start you, Gabe Davis.
So Ray, what made you decide to go with the man bun today?
So
show everyone your man bun. Give them a little bow. Wow, look at that thing.
So when I am studying with my long hairs, it is extremely frustrating to have that hair touch any part of my face. So in order to avoid that, I either put on a hat or I put my hair up. And today I put my hair up. I sat down for the pod, didn't realize my hair was in a bun, and it was just too fucking late. So deal with it. I don't care. It's not that bad of a look.
Guy looks like a Shaolin warrior, if you ask me.
That's fine. Those guys are badass.
Yep.
What else? What else are we talking about? Sports.
First episode that we are not jazzed up and cheering Fins up.
Dolphins.
We're on a 5-game winning streak and 5 episodes, and it was going great, and it's all right.
Yeah.
I had a feeling that this was going to be a really tough one because I've had the 49ers defense on my fantasy team.
Did you start them?
And I started them. Yeah, and they're nasty. So I knew it was going to be a tough. Yeah.
So
it was a true test. It was.
I mean, so here's the thing, right? We have not seen Tua play that poorly in a long time. Like, he was actually not playing well at all. He was missing throws that were crucial throws. And that's all right. Sometimes you're not going to have a good week. Luckily, this wasn't an AFC game. Luckily, this wasn't a division game. I think we're still okay. I think we're good. I think Tua's going to get his confidence back and show the haters why Justin Herbert is a clown. And I think that we'll be fine. We'll be okay. We're not first place in the AFC East anymore. That's okay. But the game was hard to watch.
Back-to-back plays, literally back-to-back plays, interception.
Yeah, it was hard to watch. It was hard to watch.
And he actually hadn't thrown an interception since September. Since early
180
September.
something attempts or something crazy like that.
Yeah, it was since early September was his last interception.
So, man, it's bound to happen. You're bound to have a bad game. I'm okay with it. We were still competitive to the very end, or not the very end, but to the point where you could still be competitive. There's 2 crucial challenge plays that got overturned that just weren't in our favor, and nothing you could do about that. Good coaching, yeah. I mean, good shout out to that dude for being able to spot that out and throw a challenge flag. 2 crucial plays.
Who were the announcers?
I don't know.
Very biased.
I want their names and addresses.
In the first quarter, they're like Tua just doesn't look confident. Like, or Tua's having a big issue with his confidence. What the fuck do you know if Tua's having? Do you have a conversation with him on the sideline? How do you know he's not confident out there? How are you telling me that? Tua's in his head. How the fuck do you know that?
Dude, in my head, these 2 men were sitting there in the booth with no pants on, no underwear on, a bottle of lotion in front of them. They were just pumping on their hands, and they were just jerking each other off to the 49ers playing. Like any good play, they're just jerked, bro.
Yeah. They wanted to bust the 49ers, but
oh yeah.
Anyways, OBJ, some talks of him signing with the Cowboys, some talks of him signing with the Giants. And this predicted he was with the Cowboys last episode, I believe.
And the Bills are in the mix.
I fucking hope the Bills aren't in the mix, dude.
The Bills are 100% in the mix. They said that those are the top 3. But everybody's kind of speculating that it's more towards the Cowboys. And the Cowboys, I feel like, could really. I mean, I feel like all teams could really use him because he's not going to be that make or break player, but he is an amazing. He's an amazing guy to just be able to. And like we're also considering that he's healthy and in the same shape he was before because he hasn't played. But I mean, we saw what he did in the Super Bowl. Like if he wants to be electric, he can. He will have those spurts where he'll make those big plays. And I think that he really spreads out the defense a little more because no matter what, you still need to, he still was one of the greatest when he was in his prime. And it's not like he's way out of his prime. He's not like an old man out here. He's just gone through a little bit of bumps in the road. But I mean, I think whatever team he goes to is going to utilize him. And of course, he's going to go to whichever one he thinks he has the best chance of making a Super Bowl again, which makes me think the Giants have slowly dropped into third place because they just really have not been playing very good. And at the end of the day, I think he's going to want to follow the best quarterback out of the three. And Daniel Jones is arguably a lower tier than Dak Prescott and Josh Allen. So I think that has a lot to do with
arguable. I'm not even sure that's arguable, but
yeah,
I don't know. I've seen more reports of him like signing with the Giants and the Cowboys recently, but I don't know. It should be interesting. I don't really care. It doesn't affect us either way. We won't see either of those guys until the Super Bowl if we were to make it that far. So join whoever you want, except for the Bills. Don't join the fucking Bills, dude. Don't do that.
Don't join the fucking Bills.
Don't do that, dude.
When do you guys think a decision will be made? What's your best guess?
I'd say like probably like a week from now or less, maybe. And I mean,
yeah, I agree.
Like if his initiative is to play this season, right? He's number one. He's going to go to a team that's going to play in the playoffs. That just makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't see him playing in the regular season. And I don't know how apt coaches are going to be to just throw him into the mix in the playoffs, but it should be. I don't know. We'll see. I think maybe like a week and a half we'll have a decision.
I think the Cowboys over the Giants because they're both in the same division and the Cowboys have more of a clear path at the moment to the playoffs because they're, I think, 2 games ahead of the Giants. And I mean, you want them to at least get 2 or 3 games. You want them to at least get 2 or 3 games in to get a little bit kind of in sync with the offense, which is why I think that Ray's right on in the next week or 2, he's got to start to get in the mix somewhere because it's not that easy to learn a scheme and all the plays and the way that they go about their offense within 1 or 2 weeks. Like you need some time to get in the mix so that you're not just a dud. But I mean, he could also be just a piece to throw the defense off. And I think he's just hunting for another ring.
Producer Marco says that OBJ had a physical and official visit to the Cowboys over this past weekend, and he was seen at the Mavs game with Micah Parsons.
That's a big gun right there. If Jerry Jones wanted to get him over, that's the guy he's sending to hang out with him because who the hell wouldn't want to hang out with Micah Parsons? That guy's a beast.
That guy's dope.
So what do you guys think? Obviously, we don't know what type of contract he's going to get, how many years, blah, blah. Plus or minus $8 million a year?
No, minus.
Yeah, I would say minus.
Plus or minus.
He's not worth
plus or minus 4.
Minus. I say he signs a 2-year deal worth anywhere from $1.25 million to $2 million.
I'd say that
per year.
Yeah,
I'd say it would be a little higher than that, just off of the revenue he brings to the team, like because he has a lot of fans and a lot of people are going to come out.
He's done nothing for the past year and whatever. I don't even think he was getting paid that much for the Rams, dude. To be honest with you.
Yeah, maybe Marco can look up what his Rams deal is, but I don't know if you want to toss in the Jalen Waddle thing pretty quickly here.
Sure.
So
so as we know, look, the Rams deal was 1 year for $1.25 million. That's exactly what I just said. So it's probably gonna be less.
It'll probably be close to that. It'll probably be close to that.
Damn, dude, I'm so good. You see that? Wow, fuck.
Amazing, bro.
I'm amazing.
Looks like I was a little off with $8 million a year.
Very. Yeah, he's not worth that at all. Yeah, as we know, Jalen Waddle, when he scores a touchdown, he celebrates and he waddles like a penguin.
Give it to us, Ray. Give it to us. Give it to us. Hit it.
I'm wearing really long shorts. I'm in my comfy study clothes, so it's I don't want to stand up. It's kind of embarrassing. But Jalen Waddle, when he scores, he waddles like a penguin, and it's been catching on in some different. I think that when it catches on in the NFL, I think that they're more so mocking him than doing it as a legitimate celebration. But in the World Cup now, they were waddling, and a player from Greece was waddling, and I think that's kind of cool. The fact that it got international like that, and the Dolphins pull is getting out there to the Grecians and other Europeans.
Yeah, and I mean it's especially nice to see as a true Dolphins fan, someone that like would never wish that any Dolphins players would get injured and stuff. And it's nice to see that their success this year has gone international. What do you think about that, Ray?
True Dolphins fan, eh?
All right.
You weren't there for Cleo Lemon. You weren't there for Cleo Lemon. You weren't there for Tyler Thigpen.
Get out of here, guys.
All right.
Dante Culpepper.
All right. With that, we have a new strategy for our hot take here. All three of us will be submitting a hot take to our producer, Marco, every week, and he will be in the moment picking the hot take of the week and having us just go at it and debate it. So with that, he picked Nick's hot take for the week. And that hot take is America's middle class will represent less than 1% of the United States' wealth, or will it disappear within the next 100 years?
That is my hot take, fellas. And before I say anything, I want Andres and Ray to let that sentence sink in, and I want to see what they have to say about that. What they just think without knowing any facts behind it, what their opinions are.
Dude, I don't fucking know.
Yeah, so
America's middle class will represent less than 1% of the U.S.'s wealth or disappear within the next 100 years. Well, I mean, I feel like I need to know what percentage of wealth it currently represents.
Yeah.
Okay.
Give us the fact that you told me earlier.
Okay. I'm going to give you, so as of lately, the middle class, people that consider themselves within the middle class, it represents somewhere around 40 to like 43%. And
of the U.S.'s wealth
of this is not of the wealth. This is of just people that I guess identify as middle class.
Okay.
And 20 years prior, it represented 71% of all the people in the U.S. Okay, so that's one thing. And then the other thing is that now, as of 2021, the top 1% now own more wealth than the bottom 92%. So the 50 wealthiest Americans own more wealth than 165 million people. And that's just to give you an idea of the top to bottom separation. And pretty much that separation lowers the middle class, because as the trend has been going, right, we went from 71% of people that consider themselves someone in the middle class to 43% as of 2020. That either means that someone moves down to lower class or someone moves up to the upper class. So there's that, and I'll pull up something else, but I want to hear what you guys think about what I just said.
And Marco just identified, so the middle class is a pretty big sliding scale. It's anywhere from people making $43,350 on the low end to the high end being $130,000 a year.
I think it's kind of misleading.
What?
Because there's almost $100,000 difference there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a pretty big sliding scale. but I feel like once you get like, at least now for people early in career, like depending on the job you get in the industry, the starting salary, I think that's pretty accurate. Like some jobs that don't have a high ceiling, that maybe a top producer is making 70, you start at around 40. And then other jobs in industries that pay more, you start at around 130, 125, and high producers will make anywhere from 250,000 and up. Just depends on the industry. But that's just, I think, where that scale comes from.
And this scale is also, it depends on what state you're in. Obviously, if you're making 43,350, which is the lower end of that scale, if you're making that in like Iowa or something like that, that dollar goes a lot further than if you're in Miami or if you're in New York. Like, it's actually hard to survive in those cities making that much money. So here's another chart that might bring to light a little bit more what I'm saying. So this is the share of the population ranked by household income, and this is their share of wealth in the country. So the top 1% make up 31.1% of all the wealth in America. That's the top 1%.
What like threshold do you have to meet to make it to the 1%?
That's,
I can look that up. Keep going.
yeah, 90 to 99th percentile. So this is the top 10. This is pretty much the top 10% to 2%. We're excluding the 1%ers here. They make up 36.9%. So the top 10% altogether makes up 68% of the wealth. Then when we go from the 50th, from the 50 to 90%. Yeah, hold on.
To be part of the 1% in America, you need to be bringing in an average annual salary of $597,000 a year. So a shit ton of money.
Yeah. Sorry. So the 11% to 50% makes up 28.9% of the wealth. So 11% to 50th percent makes up 28.9% of the wealth. And then the bottom 50% makes up 3.2% of the wealth. So pretty much the top 1% makes as much as the bottom 89%.
Wow.
According
Pretty
to
messed up.
Yeah.
I mean, they've been saying forever that the middle class is shrinking. I mean, I don't know. I can't even tell you how long they've been saying that. I've been hearing it my whole life. So I feel like as shit like crypto billionaires and all these different kinds of billionaires, people that just somehow just get gross amounts of money, I feel like that's more commonplace now than it ever has been. So it would make sense to me that those upper echelon, salary makers are representing so much of the wealth of this country. I didn't think it would be evenly distributed. I mean, you drive down Miami and you see, you look to your left and you see an $8 million house, and you look to your right and you see a house that is being held together by cardboard and plywood. So I'm not surprised by that fact at all. That does not surprise me. Does it scare me? Maybe a little bit. Maybe it doesn't really motivate me too much to try getting to that upper percentile, because I feel like I won't be able to, compete, or I won't be able to even get there. But the middle class shrinking, what do you think the significance of that is? And that's what is the middle class shrinking? How is that going to have a negative impact on people and their ability to live their lives?
Yeah, so I think it's going to have a definite issue, and it stems from a poor distribution of wealth from the top earners. Like, I think the CEO income has gone up by like 1,400% in the last 30 years, when the average employee's income has gone up a few percent over the last 30 years. when you adjust inflation in there. And I think that's a huge issue. But I think there's a massive negative effect by the middle class not having the wealth that they had, because the less people you have that can contribute to society will in turn be negative on our growth as a country. So as you force more and more people into the lower class, they will have to in turn begin to spend less. They will contribute less to society in just natural ways, in groceries, restaurants. Like, you'll see a lot of businesses get less and less attention, because if the elitist class of people is small, and it always will remain small, like, we're just not going to see this boom in tons of billionaires and millionaires just nonstop. There's not enough of those people to go around. And yeah, they'll be able to distribute their wealth and buy things, but you're not going to have a restaurant filled with a bunch of one percenters. The restaurant's typically filled with low to middle class people, and you're sprinkled in occasional 1% person. And if that middle class of people is just becoming obsolete, you're going to have this huge distribution in person in society. You'll have this one you'll have this one side of the sphere that is just super rich and has a ton of stuff going on. And then you have this other side who is dealing with poverty. And that means our like areas will become low income, and there'll be less and less quality of living. And I think it does have a huge effect on us, because everything needs to be evenly distributed, because that's just the way things go. There's always going to be your big players. There's always going to be the people in the middle, and there's always going to be the people at the bottom. And I think if we don't do a good job of, like we said, distributing that wealth accurately, and also educating our lower class and putting things into place to hopefully begin to enable them to jump from lower class to middle class, instead of having middle class lower themselves to lower class. And I don't mean that in a bad way, just financially lowering into that lower class. It's going to have a massive negative effect, because again, like, people need to spend money. Like, the economy needs the money to be flowing. And if there's less and less people with money to spend, we're going to have less and less of all of this economic growth that the U.S. has been known for over the last 100 years, because we've continued to produce high earning individuals and given people the opportunity to go from nothing to something. But if we see that number continue to shrink, and the people in the middle that make up a lot of the spending start slowly dwindling, we're going to have some massive issues on our hands. So I think it's going to come from enabling the lower class to jump up to the middle class, and doing a better job of distributing that wealth from the top 1% down. And maybe the CEO makes 15% less than what he's supposed to, and that in turn is able to pay people more in the middle class, because the CEO should not have their salary going up by 18, 14, 1500% over the last 30 years, when the average employee's percent goes up single digits. I think that's like a major problem.
Nick, give us a financial impact statement. Economic impact statement.
Well,
give it to us.
I definitely think the middle class is going to be gone at some point, because if you look at the nature of money and the nature of capitalism, having a lot of money over time makes you filthy rich, for lack of a better phrase. Unless you make like really poor decisions. It's called compound interest, and it's how Warren Buffett became one of the richest people in the world. And I think that's what the like very rich and ultra rich utilize. And it's like, to put it in like a simple term, like if you have $3 million and you're making 5% on your money in a bank, let's say, every year, that's $150,000 that you're making. And that's, as Marco just put here, $150,000 a year. That's higher than the highest end of what middle class people make in a year, which was 130,000, according to that article. So just by having money, you're going to be able to make more money over time. And I don't think that machine is going to slow down. I think it's only going to speed up. And, you know, I think back in the day, I'm talking about before COVID times, people used to say like, "Oh, wow, you're rich," or "You have a lot of money," for someone who made $1 million. Now, I don't think that's where the bar's at anymore. I think $1 million doesn't go as far nowadays. Maybe in some cities, yeah, it does. I guess being in Miami, you know, things are really expensive here now. So $1 million isn't close to what it was 10 years ago or 15 years ago. So I don't think the outcomes are going to be great. Honestly, I'm a little concerned about it. And, you know, I think even if you change the CEO salary and that part of it changes and the distribution is a little more even, you're still going to have your owners and all your executives and stuff that are still just going to be eating over and over again. So I don't know. I'll leave it at that. And if you guys want, leave a comment. If you want us to keep going down this rabbit hole, we'll keep going down this rabbit hole.
Yeah, Nick, I'll let you send us home since you brought us in.
Thank you guys for watching. We love you. We hope you enjoy the pod. Again, please leave us any suggestions, anything you'd like us to discuss. Let us know if Ray talked too much on this pod, although I think maybe he did a little better.
That was definitely me.
And
yeah, we got a curb under this. Unless it's talking.
And don't forget to leave us a like, subscribe, follow, all that good stuff. Write us a love letter, anything. And we hope you guys have a great day, great night, wherever you are.
We love you.